Adtech moves fast. Yesterday's innovation is today's warm-up act. Welcome to Legends of Adtech, the podcast where we go beyond the buzzwords and straight to the people at the cold face of digital adtech. Every 2 weeks, we sit down with the industry's boldest thinkers, pioneers and disruptors to find out how they're rewriting the game. This is their story.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Legends of Adtech podcast for another conversation with one of Adtech's brightest minds. I'm Julia Linehan, CEO and founder of The Digital Voice.
And I'm Casey Pass, your co-host for this season. We're spotlighting 6 past winners of the Wire's Adtech Personality of the Year, the people driving the industry forward, asking the big questions, who are not afraid to rethink the rules. Today's guest is the brilliant Sara Vincent, Managing Director for the UK at Utiq. You might know her from some of her work leading publisher growth at Index Exchange, or maybe from her time at Just Premium, but what really sets Sara apart is how she combines commercial leadership with the real heart and a hunger for innovation and change.
And if that wasn't enough, I think we have to delve into a little bit about the fact that Sara's really rethinking how we approach innovation, how we lead with purpose. So we want this episode to be a little bit digging into that, a little bit on the career pivots, mindset shifts, and what needs to change for Adtech to thrive in the next chapter. So that's the intro. But Sara, welcome, firstly.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. That's quite an intro.
You might not say that when I set you the usual challenge, 60 seconds or less to tell us, introduce yourself, what you do and how you got here. Are you willing to take that challenge on?
Let's do it.
Go for it.
So I'd say I would be a digital advertising old-timer, or maybe seasoned professional to be a little bit nicer. I've had a career spanning starting out in ad sales. I've moved into becoming a publisher and working in that publisher environment. I worked for European startups, and then on the flip of that, more established ad tech platforms. And I'm now back in an innovative European startup company. Outside of work, I'm a wife. I have 4 teenage kids. I'm a wannabe golfer. God, that's frustrating. I am exhausted quite a lot of the time, but I am super grateful for everything that I have and that I've achieved.
So we can already see Legends of Adtech golf crew led by Sara and me. Both new, but both of us newbies. Casey's a seasoned pro, as all Floridians are.
Hardly. Well, it's super interesting, Sara. We talked about some of your roles in the past in our intro there, and you've held roles across, like we said, Just Premium, Index Exchange, and now, of course, with Utiq. Did you always see yourself in this industry?
I fell into this industry, which I think a lot of people do. I was previously in recruitment and actually was working with companies within AdTech and sourcing candidates for them. But as I started to see the job roles coming in, I was like, oh, these are really actually a bit more interesting than my role here in recruitment. So that was how I kind of got into it. And I would say over the many years, I have never, ever thought about leaving. I just love it as an industry. It's the people are incredible, and I know people say that, but it really genuinely feels like that, especially, when it came to winning the Adtech Personality of the Year award. That was all of the people that I've worked with over many years that were voting for me, and it's just really humbling. And yeah, I think the pace of change is incredible. There's frustration, obviously. It's always there's something happening, and I think that keeps the people within it, always perhaps more agile thinking, but also young as well. And it's cool to be on the cutting edge of technology.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it just? And it's interesting. You mentioned, so I think, a really pivotal moment in your career with winning the Adtech Personality of the Year. But I'm curious as well, if you could define a career moment that helped shape your approach innovation today, because a lot of the roles you've taken on have been about, actually, they are very innovative companies. But is there a kind of defining career moment that made you go, that's shaped how I approach innovation?
I think there was a point. So when obviously you said about the companies that I worked at before, when I joined Index, I'd already seen them and observed externally what they were doing in the market, and that for me was actually a moment of realization where you've got innovative technology coming from it was obviously a Canadian company, but coming in and actually challenging the status quo of programmatic advertising, obviously with the onset of header bidding. And that's quite phenomenal. That was a massive change in the industry. It's possible, these things can happen. And it just, in a way, it just kind of shapes your view of actually, what things that feel so big and, like huge mindset changes within the industry can actually happen. Now, obviously, a lot of hard work goes into that. It's not an easy thing to do, but it does happen. And that's what's actually I think is like defining. It's nice to see, and it makes you feel that, if you are, and obviously as I'm now working in a new company, new environment, a new, we're looking at a new approach, it's possible. Like, it's the David and Goliath thing is, I think about that a lot, and that spurs me on.
I love it. So interesting you've gotten to see all this evolution and change being at the forefront of it all. And through all these positions, you've worn many different hats across publishing, programmatic, leadership, privacy. What would you say is the role that's taught you the most about how the industry works, and what did it teach you?
I think every role has taught me something different, and I think that I'm on a continual learning journey, and that's actually what keeps me in the industry, because it's always, you always feel that there's progression. It is progression every single day. It's every day is a learning day. The privacy hat that I like, I guess the privacy is a topic that I've learned a lot more about in the last 12 months, and so that's obviously something that's very top of mind for me. It's probably the steepest learning curve that I've had outside of the technology and environment. So this is more of a something that is regulation, and privacy is obviously quite a new area. What I can see though is privacy is not going away. It's very much will become core of the industry, and as such we need to have a look at what we're doing today and how we can do better in that. But I almost see it as a bit of a common sense approach, that respecting privacy just is like, why wouldn't you? You respect privacy, you get a better outcome, because the consumer or the user is feeling confident in what they're doing, they're understanding a value exchange, and then they're getting a better experience from it. So privacy is probably the latest learning curve, I would say, that I've obviously found myself in. It's teaching me a lot.
Love it.
So here's an interesting thought, because if we think about privacy, it is about putting the consumer and people first. And our industry this year hasn't been great at putting people over profits. It's been a tough ride in some ways. So that's not just about consumers, that's about the people in it. And I'm always curious, how can companies, especially within our industry, balance that need for performance? We've got to make money, it's got to do well, but at the same time protect the people, remain sort of focused in on inclusivity, inclusive teams and stuff like that, and help the people. What do you reckon?
I feel it's really like commonsensical that, like, performance, success, inclusion, it all goes hand in hand, right? Knowledge is power. The more knowledge, the more insight, the more different perspectives that we have within a team, within a company, the better we can be, because we have, just have much a wider, broader view. And so I think it's more important than ever to ensure that we do have diversity across teams. We understand different perspectives, we think like that. I mean, that's a core human skill of empathy and the ability to understand. And I think that it doesn't change if it's in a work environment or outside. And we need to have a team which is like that. And then people will always do business with people, and so it's about like reflecting what we have within our own environment within a company, to make sure that reflects what we see outside in our partners and clients, and so we can engage and work well and understand each other in that way.
Love it. Just being human, that B to H that it has been so talked about recently. It's very true.
Yes to that.
It's so topical right now to talk about that, because in the era of AI, the things that maybe the technology will not be able to replicate is human interaction, open communication, empathy, the ability to understand someone else's position, ability to work with people who don't necessarily share your view. All of that becomes an incredibly important human skill that actually needs to be really honed for the future as well.
Very true. Well, I want to stay with data and privacy, since that is really your specialist area, and because you've been at the forefront of whatever the latest innovation in those areas in technology are. What is the latest innovation within data and privacy that you've seen impact the industry in a positive way?
Okay, first of all, I'm not a specialist.
Oh, God damn it. We had loads of difficult questions coming up for you under the hood of privacy and data. No, we didn't.
And in terms of like innovation in privacy, I think is maybe it's more of an evolution in privacy, and that's really that, as I mentioned earlier, it's the understanding that privacy is like the industry is growing up, and therefore we have more regulation, and privacy is part of that. And so privacy has to be at the core of everything that we do, that brands are looking at, that agencies are looking at, that publishers. It's all about including that now, and obviously privacy and respecting that is not at odds with growth and profitability for your business. It's not easy though, right? It is difficult. We've got across Europe, there is a number of data protection authorities across different markets, and then in some instances like Germany, I think there's 17 data protection authorities within that one market. Now, to adhere to all of that is very challenging, right? Because whilst the core of the regulation is GDPR, each GDPR will also have a nuance in the way that they're interpreting the law, and then the regulation that goes with that. So it's not easy. A lot of things that are for the best aren't, and so I think that is a big. It's an innovation in a way that it's a mindset change, and it's a recognition we're growing up. We need to have this. We need to do things the right way. And I'm talking about Europe right now, but obviously US regulations coming to the US. It's coming global. It will become global, and it is a really positive step forward for the industry. I think it's just the way to, find the way to embrace it, find the way to do the right thing for better outcomes.
I'm going to go back to something you said just at the beginning of that, because you said, no, I'm not an expert in privacy. And I would say that you're almost doing yourself a disservice. And there's a slight bit of a lot of females often have, it can be males or females, have imposter syndrome about that. And tech leaders almost need to be showing by example and actually going, no, I am a leader and I know my stuff, as you do actually. Because I think, Sarah, we need to show a light on how do we encourage future female leaders to come into this space. And I think that having people like you there leading on areas like privacy and data, quite tech heavy subjects. So what do we need to do? And I think it is, yeah, I've got my thoughts on it, but you tell me yours.
Good point. But the reason I said I'm not a specialist is that we have an absolutely awesome privacy DPO within Utiq, Pascal, who is a female leader. She's award-winning.
Oh, yes, she is. No, I see what you mean. Yeah, she is seriously privacy.
Within this company, but externally for sure. And like obviously, I will. I recognise that. Like I have I have experience in the industry. There is some areas where I have got knowledge and insights that I could share that will be helpful for future generations. And so I'm definitely at that point of thinking now, how can I do more of that? In terms of nurturing female leaders now, I've said this before and I'll say it again, which is lean into your network. Like build your support crew. Think about and really sort of look introspectively. Where are you weaker in certain areas than others? And if you identify a knowledge gap, where can that be filled? It's so easy now to actually access a network of female leaders, or generally more of a network within the industry. And there's millions of people who will be more than happy to help you and support you in that, that upskilling and learning more. So I feel it's easier now to find your crew, to find people who can help you. You need to do some work yourself, obviously, and then obviously when the time comes, it would be good to pay that back as well. And so, I would say do that, but also, work hard, be good, be kind, be human, and respect others. This is what I'm telling my daughter.
I love it.
I love it. No, it's so true. And I also want to say, that I'm a huge ambassador for female voices, but equally go on the men. And I love that our industry has so many community groups, and within that is so many community groups with also not just our industry in common, but other things that we do. And I think lean in, whoever you are, lean in. And also for the younger generation, there's things like Adtech Connect, loving it. But I'm going to ask you this, because we've been in this industry a long time, right? If you could, magic wand time, you can rebuild the whole ad tech industry from scratch. You got a clean slate. What would you change? What would you get rid of? What would you keep? What would be in the new world?
It's actually really interesting because in my current role, I'm talking about we need to think as if we almost need to press the reset button on the industry, and it's not as hard as everyone thinks it is. But if there's two things I think that we should think about if we were going to rebuild from scratch, and that's number one would be transparency. No more black boxes, no more nefarious activity. Margins, companies can take whatever margin they want, but justify them, fine. Each party in the industry should really be proving their value every single day anyway. And I think if everyone had that same view, then we'd be in really good shape. So we'd have that transparent offering. The second would be about, I guess, building a really solid foundation or infrastructure on what to build on, to be able to build on top of. And it's obviously when we started out as an industry, things do get bolted on, and that's quite normal. But now I think we have an opportunity to we can actually turn back time and rebuild that foundational layer. And of course, with reference to Utiq today, rebuilding that foundational layer of addressability, from which everything else then can grow. And it's a fundamental thing that we've lost from the industry, but we have an opportunity now to replace that.
I love it. It's our AdTech Shangri-La coming very soon. I'm curious to know as well, since you are so knowledgeable and you always have sort of finger on the pulse of what's going on, what would you say is your go-to source with keeping up for the latest innovations?
Thank you for that, but I think there's no kind of structure to what I'm doing. I do listen to podcasts a lot. I love a podcast, but because they're really easy and accessible, and I can listen to them on the train, I can listen to them when I'm out running or whatever. It's kind of and I find myself quite receptive to audio, so I learn a lot through the podcast. And there's a lot out there, and there's many different topics, and you'll find something for a topic you're interested in for sure. The trades I try and read, there's a lot of that, so it's kind of like sifting through and just trying to pick out what the headlines are. But also, as you mentioned earlier, Julia, there is numerous WhatsApp groups across the industry, either in specific verticals and areas or generally. And I think that becomes quite a nice source, because that's more of a, I guess,
forum.
Interpretation. Yeah, it's like an interpretation of what's
it is like a university, for good and for bad, some of them. But I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's a combination thereof. So there's a place for quite a lot of information sources to help serve building better knowledge.
I love that. So across all this stuff that you're consuming, I'm curious then, in 3 words, what would you say defines the future of digital advertising?
In this order, I would say consent, trust, and better outcomes. I know that's 4 words. Sorry.
No, we'll take
You can
that.
have it. Bish, bash, bosh.
It's the understanding of giving consent, because the value exchange is understood. The trust is there because the user experience is good, and then in building that environment enables a much better outcome for brand agencies, publishers, and the user themselves.
That's perfect. Well, the idea, Casey's question leads on nicely, because it was Bish Bash Bosh asking you your first quick fire. That was just a warm up. You're heading in now to my quick fire round. As always, Sarah, you answer the first thing that comes into your head. Are you ready?
Go.
Okay. What's the one AdTech concept that still stumps you the most?
I think it's the fact that we are, as I mentioned earlier, agile, innovative, ever-changing industry. However, we talk a lot about innovation, but we don't always embrace it, and we don't move forward with it. And we seem to have found ourselves beholden to massive platforms, that are actually being incredibly impactful on businesses, and businesses are struggling because of decisions that are made by these platforms. Like, that's the thing that never really kind of make sense for me, because we should be doing more forward thinking, more innovative, testing, trialing, building, taking and mastering our own destiny.
Okay, next question. What's the best advice you've ever received?
That it only takes one to prove a concept. So, for example, I mean by that, like, you can go into a project or a business thinking you're going to take over the world, or you're going to do something like hugely grand scale, but it all starts at the very beginning with one. And so make sure you focus on building that one use case, that one scenario really well so it works, and then that will build the momentum.
Bring one, the rest will come. Love it. And next question, a word or phrase you'd love to see banned from Adtech meetings.
Now Google is no longer deprecating cookies.
Dot.
I mean, for me, that's just an excuse for lack of action. It's lazy. It's not forward thinking. It's definitely not in the best interests of advertisers or the industry as a whole. So ban that one, please.
Love it.
Done. Okay, 2 more to go. In 3 words, what makes a trend stick?
I guess understanding it. So ensuring that it's presented in the right way, so it's clearly understandable. Recognizing the value of it easily, and then I guess the willingness on the back of that to innovate or adopt. So you need to understand it, you need to see the value, and then you will drive adoption.
Love it.
Love it. I was almost making a note of that then my pen ran out. Okay, final question. And of course, being cheeky as I am, it's 2 questions in one. Who's your Adtech legend, and who would you love to see on Legends of Adtech podcast in the future? It can be 2 separate people if you want, or one.
I would say I probably learnt the most so far in my career from Andrew Casali.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, that whole driving innovation, making change happen, being incredibly smart, always taking the long view, and always seeing, how the industry's. It's almost like a sixth sense of the future of the industry. That's awesome and been incredible to be able to know him. And then
someone on our podcast. Who can we have on next? We've packed out season 1. Season 2 will be featuring
Terry Hornsby.
Got it.
Nice.
Perfect. Love it. Yeah, nice.
At Reach, I think it will be an awesome podcast to hear, and Terry does not
hold back
beat around the bush.
Love that.
He's the most direct and straightforward and open guest I think you've ever had. So that would be great to hear from him.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sarah. That's been amazing. You've survived the quick fire rounds, and just a couple of things that I really want to just highlight that Sarah said is the more knowledge, the better you can be. It's such common sense. Put people first, whether that be consumers through privacy or your teams, people over profit. And above all, think about when you're looking at innovation, if you want is to understand it first. Maybe the second part is then what problem does it solve and how can it work better for you and improve what you do? But there were so many nuggets. Those are difficult to choose from. Those are just a couple. Thank you, Sarah.
I love all of it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah. It's been an absolute pleasure. And that is a wrap on this episode of Legends of Adtech. But be sure to check out the description for ways to connect with Sarah and subscribe to never miss an episode.
From us to you, Sarah, thank you so much and goodbye.
Thank you so much, team. Bye-bye.
You're very welcome. It's been amazing having Sarah on. You are a real industry legend. Now, if you're wondering what just happened or what is happening in Adtech, you can head over to our brand new website, adtechjuice.com, for the juiciest industry takes and a knowledge refresh on how to decode the industry.
Yes, and if you loved today's conversation, please rate, review, and share the episode. It helps us keep the Adtech wisdom flowing, and hit that follow button so you don't miss a single legend. Until next time, keep it juicy.
You've been listening to Legends of Adtech, a podcast by Adtech Juice. New episodes drop every 2 weeks, bringing you closer to the pioneers, disruptors, and game changers shaping the future of digital advertising. Stay connected at adtechjuice.com and be sure to follow us on LinkedIn for even more industry know-how.